Hi guys, and hello from the hilltop. I'm Waxahachie Blue, and I want to welcome you to my channel, The Plateau Perfectionist. Today's video will be my July 2021 plan with me in my new pink mackerel Teku journal. It's an interesting name to say, but that's what I'm going to do. So, I don't know, that just a little backstory here. My month of June has been extremely hectic. Due to my mom having back surgery. My father ended up in the emergency room, and it zapped all of my weekends. So in order to kind of combat that, I wanted to just make my July spread very, very simple. I say that all the time. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but for this particular one, this was probably the most slapdash spreads that I have done. So my theme for this month is the color blue, and while I was originally going to do kind of a whale theme, which I may do, as a later spread or later theme down the line, because I do have quite a few whale type things, instead I was tossing between either the whales or this kind of Moroccan tile looking style, because that's one of my personal favorite things. Is I love the blue Moroccan type of mandalas, mosaics, etc. So basically what I did was, you guessed it, I went to Pinterest and I printed off a bunch of inspiration pictures and then just scaled them to the size that I needed and started going from there. So I actually didn't do any quotes this particular month. I know, mind-boggling. I guess I put too many in my setup. I just didn't want to do any for this month. But also, while I don't mind writing over them with that stencil for the lettering, which I did in a couple different places, as you'll see just in a minute, writing little words on these very fine designed tiles just didn't look very appealing to the eye. The bold letters, they work fine, but anything written really small it just didn't look right. Not only that, but I was getting a little tired of using the craft tape, or not the craft tape, the craft paper. I know there are some people out there who can never get enough craft paper, but I figured y'all might want a little bit of a reprieve from it. So as for supplies and things, other than this brush letter marker that you see me using here, one Tombow, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, and then some double backs craft tape. That's about, and this stencil here, that's about all of the supplies that I really used. And by the way, this stencil is actually from the craft section at the Dollar Tree. So, it was $1. I liked it because of the style of the letters. They had other styles, but I just wanted this one because I liked the professional look to it. So anyway, I accidentally oopsed on this particular page. As you'll see me drawing out my lines here, I got them all done on the left page, but as I was going through on the right page, I noticed I was a box short. And it happens. Everybody makes mistakes. And, here I go. I figured it out. I was missing a box. I was going to make this 2-page spread very big, and I just miscalculated with putting my papers in. So I ended up taking that blue piece there off. It was just with double back tape, so it actually didn't damage the paper, which kudos to the 160 GSM paper. It didn't tear. Actually, this part I'm peeling off here is the back of the colored paper, not the actual bullet journal paper. In the end, I did add a little bit towards, like, in the bottom and on a little more on the left hand side to try to make it a little more cohesive, but oh well, live and learn. So for those of you who don't know, even though I do live in America, I do my calendars and stuff Monday to Sunday. I just find that I like that better. I like having my weekends on one side of the page instead of split up, and that's just how I particularly work. Same with my weeklies. I do month-to-month weeklies. They don't overlap with extra, tidbits of the previous month. So like my first weekly will have 6 days because 4 days, because there are 4 days in the first week of July. So as for numberings, I didn't really know how I was going to do the numberings. I thought about doing little mosaics, but those would be very, very tiny. So I just kind of went with these little boxes, just as long as I had the numbers. To be completely honest, I didn't like these little boxes. I thought they were kind of tacky, but you know, whatever. I did jump a little bit just to kind of, because you don't need to see me write numbers. You really don't. In case you haven't been watching some of my other videos, when I plan out my spreads and I'm going to use, quote pages, craft papers, add-ons, particular stickers, I have a tendency to kind of stick them in the page. So the first thing I have to do when I flip to a new page is I have to take those things out. So I start with a blank page. Hopefully it doesn't bug anybody, but that's kind of my process on how I do these things. Is if I know I'm going to use something on a particular page, then I just stick it in that page so I know it's counted for, and I don't have to worry about little tidbitty smidgy bits that are like stuck in the back pocket of my journal, and then they get stuck in a corner and I lose them and I end up with duplicates, and we all know the mess that crafting can do, both in the mind and in real life. So for this particular little tracker spread, I honestly don't quite know what I'm going to do with it. To be fair, the no spend challenge one has been working really well for me, and it's just something simple. I can take a pen and just make my little doodle mark on it for what it is. I may go back to using it as a yoga tracker or a meditation tracker. I really don't quite know what I am going to use it for, because I honestly don't know how my July is going to go. We have some big things coming up in July, both with my work. My church is holding a vacation Bible school, which I will probably have to have a hand in because my mom is still a bit down from the back surgery. And so who's to say what July will have in stall for me? But in the meantime, I wanted to go ahead and make that tracker so I have it available when I decide what to do with it. I also did a 2-page rolling budget total. And I kept these very, very simple. I did add just a smidge of color with the Tombow dual brush pens at the bottom of, or not the bottom of the page, but to kind of break up the lines. And I just did this the same way that I do every time. I just did the date, the description, the amount of whatever the purchase was, or the amount of the money incoming, and then the 3 accounts that will be, I roll the totals, and that's how I balance my checkbook, for a lack of a better term. And if you're a person who doesn't know what a checkbook is, yeah. I know what one is, but I don't like to balance a checkbook. This is my equivalent of balancing a checkbook. We'll just go with that. The pen that I'm using to just generally write with is an S Gel Sharpie. It's kind of my go-to pen right now because the other Sharpie pens that I was using, they have kind of a flat top to them, and so every so often they'll catch the page and they just don't do as well as I would like them to. So I swapped over to the S Gels because they're more of like a roller ball pen. They are slightly more smooth and they definitely don't catch as much, but if you are doing too much detail work like what I did in my May spreads, you will get some scratchiness to your art style. If you're looking for that, it's a great pen. If you're looking for a clean, solid line every time, I would not recommend that pen for that particular tasks. But for just writing things, I have one at my office that I use all the time. I have one in my purse for, go-to pens. I have one, and then I actually have one here, and then I even have a spare because it came in a box of 4. But I like it because I found them on Amazon and they were in the white, and that way I could distinguish between those and my other Sharpie pens. So this is the second rolling page, and then I'm going to go straight into my weeklies. I went ahead and did tabs for the weeklies. I did kind of change up the tabs just a little bit because I didn't need as many as I did in my setup pages. I also kind of changed the shape of them in that I added these little divots. I guess you could call them divots. And I was smart, and you'll see me labeling all of these at the same time, so you don't have to see my arm in the shot over and over and over again like you see in my setup spreads. Ugh, that bugged me so much. I don't know about you, but it did. Since there was only 4 days in this particular week, I went for just this very simple horizontal spread. These actual 4 pictures came off of the same image, and I just cut them up. And if you notice, they're not quite square. It bugged me a little bit, but to be honest, seeing it on film, it's not that bad. And once I'm filling these pages out, it won't bug me as much. This is also one of the only weekly spreads I did not include a weight tracker. I'll just have to do the individual boxes for the day. I tried to make that a consistent thing throughout the rest of my weeks, just to keep everything cohesive. See, I actually labeled all of my tabs ahead of time. I am proud of myself. Be proud of the small things. Alright, so this one is actually very similar to the other one. I did change it up just a little bit and added some of these circle ones, which are not technically like mosaic tiles per se. They remind me more of dishes, but you know, all I pretty much did, in case you're ever wondering how I get these to be about the right size I need them all the time. So the average Techacore journal, same with the Amanda Rach Lee journal, is I believe an A5 size. So what I end up doing is when I'm looking for inspiration pictures, I will go usually on Pinterest, because that's where I find the best pictures that I have, so far. Knock on wood, that's just how it rolls for me. And then I just select all of the images that I'm looking for, and then I right click to print, and since they are all images, it does the image printer instead of just a general print. I don't know if everybody's computer does that, but mine does. And you can actually change the size of the image. So the first thing I do is there's a little box at the bottom of the screen that says like fit to page. I unclick that, and yes, some of your pages will be, or your images will be bigger or smaller, but if you don't unclick that box, it will stretch the image or cut some of the image off, which, depending on what you're trying to get the picture of, that can cause some issues. So I unclick that box, and then I usually will select either, if I need a bigger image, it will be 2 images per page, which is just a standard size, printer page. Or if I need a smaller image, I will do 4 to a page. And then I just click print, and they print off beautifully, and then I will cut them. If I need to cut them more, I will do so. But that's how I get pictures that fit relatively comfortably in my A5 journal without having to alter it, like go to like Photoshop or anything of that nature and have to shrink the image, etc., etc. So this particular spread, I just did some simple boxes. I did add the little weight tracker on the right page, my little mosaic tiles for each day, which then, added some lines and all that good stuff. I wanted to keep it simple because my brain just could not fabricate details. I have really been struggling. I've had so much on my to-do list, and it's just, I blink and next thing I know, it's the end of the month. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Oh dear. Sorry, there's a quote of Piglet. Please don't copyright me, Disney. I'm sorry. Something else that I have found myself doing this particular spread was to use that clip on one page, just so that the page doesn't flap around a bunch. But if you do clips, awesome. These clips are just from like Dollar Tree. It was a pack of 6. I get a lot of my supplies from Dollar Tree. Sometimes they have good supplies. I did change it up a little bit and do a vertical spread for this one. just because. Kind of wanted to change it up. And I'm gonna pick on myself a little bit. If you look at the little bits that I put down, the bottom right hand bit is upside down. If you caught that before I said anything, you have an eye for detail. But if you just now realized it, I didn't even realize it until I was finally watching the video here, and I was sitting here going, oh, dang it, that piece is upside down. But yes, I'm calling myself out. Anyway, so yes, and I put the weight tracker here at the end, and that was pretty much the end of that spread. I just wanted to keep it simple. So speaking of weight, I have been still doing the keto, but I have decided to change up a little bit. I'm doing a little bit of a challenge for myself anyway, just to kind of hopefully kickstart and get myself off of a particular weight plateau that I've been stuck on for the past year. I'm going to blame COVID for that. So right now I am doing a liquid fast. Trust me, I am not doing it dangerously. I'm being very, very careful about it. In the respect that I am doing 6 days on, 1 day off. And there are some semi-liquid foods that I'm allowing myself, just so my body doesn't attempt to revolt or something against me. Mostly this is to help me figure out a good eating window time for me. I've been having a horrible time with my eating window. In case you're wondering, the eating window is the time that you start eating and the time that you stop eating. So for example, if my eating window was, I would have my lunch at about 12:30, and then I would have my large meal at the end of the day at about 4:30. So my eating window would be 12 to about 5. That's not a bad eating window, especially since I don't have breakfast. But I wanted to see what I needed to do to fix that. So I've been doing some additional research while I have been doing my liquid fast. And I have found that I am more hungry and stay full longer if I eat at 12 than if I eat later in the day. And so far, I have actually been able to successfully do 1 meal a day for the entire week, which is very mind-boggling for me because I'm usually not capable of that. So I'm being very, very careful with this. If it comes to the point where I physically just cannot do it anymore, I will more than happily stop. This is not like a mandated thing. But in the meantime, that is something that I am working on in the background on top of everything else. Mostly it's just there was a couple of days in there I forgot to eat. So that's what I'm doing. So at the end of my weeklies, I had this little spare page, and I decided to do my half-year check-in. Yes, I did this at the end of July, which is 7 months instead of 6 months. But you know what? I can stick it wherever I want. It's my bullet journal. So here's the quick flip through. Just wanted to show off my spreads a little bit. I want to thank you for watching. I appreciate the watch. If you want to give it a like, by all means, that's up to you. I love comments. Please feel inclined to leave me a comment. I try to respond to any and all comments that I get. And if you liked my stuff, by all means subscribe. I put out at least 1 video a week, which is my monthly plan with me. And if you want to follow me, I'm also on Instagram by the same name, just with underscores in between each word. And I'm also on Facebook, minus the underscores. And I hope you'll have a wonderful month, and I will see y'all in the next month. And I hope y'all enjoy your summer and or winter if you are down below the equator. And y'all have an awesome day, because you are awesome. And I don't know if anybody's told you that, but you are. So accept it. I'll see y'all later. Bye.